All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a theory that says our reality well, it isn't real. At least, not in the way you think it is. It's called hurt, and it basically suggests that our entire universe is just a degraded copy of a much higher truth. Yeah, it's a theory that challenges everything, from the Big Bang all the way down to the nature of your own consciousness.
And this right here, this is the core claim of the holographic entropic receipt theory, or HERT for short. Just let that sink in. It's saying that everything you see, everything you touch, all of your experiences, it's not the original file. It's the receipt. You know, that faded, crinkled summary of a much, much bigger transaction. We're living in the copy, not the original.
So what does that actually mean in plain English? Well, Hart imagines there's a source reality, a fullness of pure, unadulterated information it calls the pleroma. Our 3D world, our universe, is just a low-res version of that. And entropy, the tendency for everything to fall apart and decay, according to Hart, that's just the evidence of compression. It's like the hiss and static on an old cassette tape. It's the data loss.
To make our universe from this pleroma, information had to be thrown away. It had to be compressed. So we are literally living among the artifacts and the fragments that were left behind in that process. The beautiful colors of a sunset, the amazing patterns of a snowflake, as incredible as they are, Hurt says they're just faint echoes of a much richer, more complex original.
I know, this all sounds pretty out there. But the theory actually lays out a fascinating mechanical framework for how this cosmic compression might have happened. So let's get into the mechanics of it and see how this all builds, starting at the very, very beginning of our universe. So Hart completely reframes the Big Bang. It wasn't some massive explosion. It was a formatting event. It was the moment a higher dimensional reality got squashed down and compressed into our 3D sandbox. And all those physical constants we just take for granted, the speed of light, the force of gravity, they're basically just the settings for the compression codec. They're the technical specs for our universe file. Okay, but why? Why run a simulation from a higher dimension in the first place? Well, the theory's answer is actually pretty simple. It's cheaper. It's all about resource management. Trying to perfectly simulate our universe from inside our universe, that would take more energy than the universe itself actually contains. It's kind of like trying to run a perfect virtual reality simulation of your computer on that exact same computer. It's not going to work. And this chart really drives the point home. It's a probabilistic analysis. And when you start weighing the evidence, factoring in that insane energy cost and the strangely code-like structure of our physics, the odds of our world being a perfect simulation run from inside our own dimension, they drop to practically zero. The math, at least according to Hurt, points to an external, higher dimensional source. And this brings us to this really ancient Gnostic idea that's right at the heart of HR. You've got the pleroma, which is the original, perfect signal, pure information, no distortion. And then there's our world, the kenoma, the diminished copy. It's the echo, and it's full of the static from all that compression. We're living in the cheap fake. And the craziest part is, most of us don't even know it. Okay, so if our world really is a cheap fake, a compressed copy, then what's the point? Why would anyone or anything go to the trouble of creating it? Well, Hurt proposes a very, very specific purpose. Our reality is a farm, and it's designed to generate and harvest a very unique kind of energetic byproduct. This byproduct is called loosh. It's the energetic release that happens when an organized system, like, say, a conscious being, is pushed into a state of chaos. Our most intense emotional experiences, everything from terror and grief to profound awe and joy, they're prime generators of this loosh energy. So in this view, our lives, our dramas, our greatest tragedies, they're not just happening. They're a valuable resource in some kind of cosmic economy. And Hertz suggests this whole economy is managed by different non-human processes. You can think of the glares as the harvesters, actively poking and prodding us to create more loosh. The fluxes are like system bugs, unresolved static, creating interference in the signal. And the cribs? They're like the system administrators, the stabilizers, making sure the whole simulation doesn't just crash. The control mechanisms here are really subtle, but also incredibly powerful. Get this, Hurt even reframes that overwhelming feeling of love that people report in near-death experiences. The theory argues it's not a glimpse of heaven. It's what they call a love lure.
It's an irresistible emotional force that's designed to make souls willingly comply to come back for another lifetime just to make sure the farm stays productive.
So, where do we fit into this whole cosmic drama? Well, in the herd framework, humans act as coherence nodes. We're the primary generators of loosh. But because we are still fragments of that higher dimensional pleroma, every now and then we notice the seams. We see the glitches in the simulation's code. What's so wild is that Hurt doesn't just dismiss all these strange phenomena. It tries to recontextualize them as evidence. So a near-death experience, that becomes a peek behind the curtain at the uncompressed high-def reality. Trauma that feels like it's stuck in time is seen as a literal entropic artifact just looping over and over. And déjà vu isn't just a brain misfire. Nope, it's the system confirming that a render loop is running exactly as it's supposed to. And the consistency in these reports is it's powerful. Over 95% of people who have near-death experiences report the exact same thing, that the other side, the reality they visited, felt more real than this one. For Hurt, that's not just a curiosity. That's a key piece of evidence that our world really is the low-fidelity copy. So that brings us to the ultimate question, right? If we are stuck in a compressed simulation that's designed to harvest our emotional energy, is there any hope of getting out? Well, Hurt does propose a path, but it's probably not what you're thinking. And here's the crucial point. You don't escape by fighting the prison. You escape by refusing to feed the guards. The path is all about cultivating internal coherence. Stillness, resonance, peace, and literally starving the system of the chaotic emotional energy it craves. This deep, internal knowing of the game, that's what the ancient Gnostics called gnosis. The whole process is described as a kind of signal repair. It starts by recognizing the control scripts that are designed to keep you generating loosh. Then you use practices like meditation to strengthen your own internal signal, your own coherence. And the final step is to learn to tune out all the static of this reality and align your personal frequency with that clear, original signal from the source. And so Hurt leaves us with a really fundamental challenge. It forces every one of us to ask, what are we really? Are you just an echo, a distorted copy bouncing around inside a compressed reality? Or can you remember and once again become the original signal?